Hey folks, what's up? We are going to talk about the grip on the pistola for everyone, but especially for guys with any kind of grip problems, ailments, smaller hands, weaker hand strength, arthritis, carpal tunnel, whatever it is. I got some problems with my left wrist. I still have perfect grip strength and wrist solidness, but I've torn some ligaments and broke it several times. So there's just some things there that in certain positions it just hurts to squeeze or hurts to clamp or whatever. And I'm going to tell you guys how I will put my grip, my recoil control up against anyone. And I do that with absolutely not squeezing at all with my left hand. I'm right-handed. My grip looks just like this. I use the trigger guard. I use a more around the pistol, not lined up with the bone or whatever like this, like the old Weaver style. I'm more around the pistol, okay, so that I can get a better trigger finger, one, a more equal triangle, two, and more room and a better lock on the grip with my left hand. And then I use the trigger guard to leverage off of, and I promise you that I'm not exaggerating. The only thing I squeeze with my left hand is just enough with my pinky and my ring finger to simply give me a little bit of grip, on my fingers here. I'm barely doing anything with them. And what that gives me is the ability to set my grip and maintain it. Okay, I worked on this. I freaking worked on it because I was having too much fluctuation in my grip. Okay, I was gripping at my perfect, let's say my perfect grip is 50. I'm just using numbers so this makes sense. My perfect grip is 50. I'm capable of gripping 100. That's how hard I can actually grip the gun. I'm capable of gripping 100. I tried 75, I tried 100, I tried 60, and I had too much fluctuation between this target was at 50, this target's at 70, this target's at 90, this target's at 30. Too much fluctuation. So I found my perfect spot that I performed the best, my trigger finger worked the best, my dexterity, my shock absorbers, my arms, my wrist, everything worked the best to return this gun where it came from every single time. And that became 50, okay? That's an arbitrary bullshit number. I'm just putting it out there to say. Now, what my plan is in a USPSA stage, a drill, anything, a transition, bang, 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 anything from 2 targets, 3 targets, anything. My goal is to stay within 45 and 55, okay? I want that grip to maintain and not fluctuate large amounts. So I'm not gripping perfect, gripping too hard, gripping too soft, gripping perfect, gripping too hard, gripping too soft as I go through a stage or a defensive encounter or a drill or anything. Setting and maintaining your grip is so important. So finding all the little keys to cheat, the ways to cheat so that you can set, maintain, lock that grip in place and leave it there. So, because I'm not ever squeezing, even a little bit, with this left hand, and my right hand is simply being strong. It's not doing anything crazy. Both my hands are just going, locking and being strong. That's it. Because I'm doing that, I can sit here just like this. And I could keep this amount of grip. This is my perfect grip to where if I was about to do a bill drill into that wall, I could sit here and 3 minutes from now, I could still do that same bill drill and accomplish the same thing. I am not trying. I'm using so minimal effort to get this done. And I'm doing it by cheating several ways. I talked about it when we started. First way, I'm not lining my hand up. This picture and this thing that's passed all around the internet came from the Weaver stance. Line your gun up with the bone in your forearm, like they used to tell you, right? All right? Now, if you got short fingers or small hands, you're always going to be pushing your trigger because you cannot get around it and create a right angle on your trigger. You can't get far enough around there to actually get a dexterous, nice trigger pull to where you can actually work with your trigger pull and be dexterous enough to figure out how exactly you need to pull that trigger. If you're short-handed and you can barely get on your trigger, you're always going to be pushing that gun. Second, when you're out like this and you got this gun lined up with your arm and then you come in to build your top triangle, guess what it's going to look like? It's going to look like Weaver, okay? And if you go into the middle, it's going to crank and put a bunch of pressure on your wrist that's unneeded and bullshit. And then it's going to put you in a place where you can't use the same leverage points that we're going to talk about here in a minute. So you then have to squeeze with your left hand. And when I hear instructors and trainers saying you need to squeeze more with your left hand, I hate it because, like I said, I'll put my recoil control up against anybody and I don't squeeze at all. So this thing, sliding your hand a little further around that pistol, using the trigger guard to grip this gun and not to squeeze or do anything, but just a simple mechanical device to leverage off of, okay? When you go like this and act like you're crushing a walnut between your hands, the fact that your fingers are interlocked and your knuckles are locked together, that's the exact same thing as what I'm doing by simply just grabbing my trigger guard with this forefinger, okay? When I go out like this, I'm just crushing that walnut between these two hands. And instead of using skin on skin to try to get this done, instead of going like this and just saying, oh, just leave your right hand free and just squeeze with your left the whole time you're shooting, nah. All I'm going to do is grab that trigger guard and go leverage against it. And now I can sit out here and go bang, 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 bang all damn day without even an ounce of fatigue. So, slide your hand further around that gun, grab the trigger guard, and then crush that walnut using the trigger guard. Now what you got to figure out though is not to pull the gun, okay? We are just simply leveraging off the gun to create straight back pressure onto it. We're not pulling the gun this way or that way. We're going like this. And if you put the equal amount, you don't have to squeeze. All you have to do is be strong. Just be strong and solid, and then up against the gun, done with. The third thing, which is something that it's just one of those things where we're leveraging our palms into the back of the pistol. Now this is a pretty known thing and a lot of people want to do it, but the back corner of the back straps is the most important part of this whole gun in terms of grip, okay? It's the easiest parts to get to and it's the easiest parts to leverage into. We're just simply leveraging into the backs of those and then creating that top triangle that's equal will allow you not to pull the gun one way or the other. And if you create that top triangle that's equal and you figure out the elbow placement on where you can get as much contact as possible, my most amount of contact possible is here, but then when I pull forward, my elbows come up a little bit. That's just the way my hands are built. Yours might look a little bit more like this when you're out in the shooting position. It might look a little bit more like this when you're out at the shooting position. Mine's pretty neutral, right there, bam. I can sit there, that's my preferred method. And you want to think about doing this. So, bending your elbow and letting that recoil absorb through you is going to help with this also. Remember, we want to cheat. We want to use absolutely the least amount of effort humanly possible to get the job done. Okay? Bending your elbows, bring the gun a little bit closer to your face is going to allow you to pinch and clamp that gun a little bit easier. If you think about holding a weight between your hands, if you hold it out here, it's going to suck. If you hold it right here, it'll be easy. Pretty simple stuff to think about. One thing that has to do with the actual gun itself that I see a lot of people chasing is smaller grips. And a lot of the time, let's say here we got a Glock 19, a lot of the time people are going to want the smallest grip they possibly can, and they don't like a Glock 19. But that's because they've been told their whole lives to line this gun up with their forearm. So then that puts me, even me, I'm just shy of 6 foot tall. I just have stubby fingers. That even puts me at a terrible place, to where in the gun store, if I didn't know any better and I had somebody telling me that this is how I need to do it, they'd say, oh, you just need to pick another gun. Instead of just simply going, that's a 1/4 of an inch that's now perfect. Now perfect. 1/4 of an inch rotating my hand around. Perfect. A lot of people will develop a way that they do it, and whether they're shooting well or whether they want to get better, and they just won't change. I promise you, it's not going to take a long time to feel comfortable. It's going to feel weird at first, of course. But I promise you, if you try to do this and you practice it for just a few weeks of dry fire here and there in a range session or two, it'll feel normal right away, and then your performance levels are going to go through the roof. Stop chasing smaller back straps and realize that the more gun on hand we possibly have, this is what we want. We want our hands to be all over this gun. Another reason why I use the trigger guard instead of stacking up on my hands. Right here I have probably, let's say, 65% of my support hand on this actual pistol. Right here I have 75%. More hand on gun is better. My definition that I always use for the modern thumbs forward grip is high percentage of hand on gun. High percentage of hand on gun. High leverage points and cheating our way to get leverage on that gun, and high friction, which is a byproduct of both, I guess. So high percentage of hand on gun, as much hand as we can possibly get on this gun, okay, combined with as much leverage as we can create with minimal effort, leads to more friction, less effort, leads to more better shooter, less effort, more better shooting, more better, less effort. That's what it's all about. I wanted to try to get this out quick, a lot of shit. So try that, I promise you. Spin your hand around, hook the trigger guard, rip into it. Lots of trainers, lots of instructors are gonna say that hooking that trigger guard is wrong. Eric Graffel says you're full of shit. Jerry Michalek, he says you're full of shit. Yang Lee, he says you're full of shit. Lena Michalek puts 2 fingers up on here. Girl, not a whole lot of hand strength. Kills it. I could think of more, but I'm telling you, try this stuff, please. And let me know what you think. Take it easy.